Okay, can you see the screen now? All right, thank you, 𝗙𝗻𝗀, thank you. There was some problem in the connection earlier. All right, guys, so here we have our test on the screen. Quick rules discussion. So I'll show you the questions one by one, and you have to solve your questions in the given time frame. Make sure that you are timing yourselves. And then you have to submit your answers within that time frame. We will have the discussion on each question twice, and you should be taking notes in that discussion time. Try to take notes of all the hints, strategies, methods, reading styles, analysis, and everything and anything that you can. So here is your first question for reading writing blanks, and you have 2.5 minutes to post your answer for this one. Please make sure that you are not taking more than 2.5 minutes, and try to participate, all of you. So your time starts now, 2.5 minutes, and then post your answers, please. right should be done. Let's discuss. This says, upon what do philosophers of art direct their attention? Art is the ready answer, but what is art and what distinguishes it from all other things? The theorists who have attempted to answer this question are many, and their answers differ. Dash. How do the answers differ? So you should have given yourself examples of sentence structures that there is a lot of difference in their answers. There is a great difference in their answers. What is the difference between both the sentences? Both of them are grammatically right. Both of them are right in the context of word selection. We cannot say that great doesn't come with difference. That's no thing. There is a lot of difference in your answers. There is a great difference in your answers. Both of them are exactly the same. The answer was just based on better academic strength. A lot is used in common verbal language, whereas greatly is more academic language, more used in writing English rather than spoken English. So very much is again, very word is always the least academic of all, and plenty goes when you have number of something. Enough is plenty in terms of quantity when you are measuring something. So out of a lot and greatly, most of you have written a lot, but mark it a point. Out of a lot and greatly, both of them are contextually, word choicely, they are all good, but a lot is general and greatly would be more academic. But there is one feature that virtually all of them have dash. So but tells us that the two parts before and after but should be opposite of each other. In the previous part, we said there is a big difference. So the next part should talk about similarity. This is how you should be analyzing your answers without looking at the options. That my answer here should convey similarity, the opposite of difference. So one feature that virtually all of them have, which is same, any word which shows same here, together is not same, shared doesn't fit here. One feature that virtually all of them have shared. So all of them means we are talking about artists here, theorists here. Theorists don't share the feature of arts. Prevailing is continuing, but we can go with in common. In common means which is same to all of them. That is the meaning of in common, and most of you are right in selecting that. And then they're given an example. A work of art is a human made thing, an artifact as distinguished from an object in nature. That this is the difference. A sunset may be beautiful, but it is not a work of art. A piece of driftwood may have qualities, but it is not a work of art since it was not made by a human. So the sentence is complete. Qualities is a noun, so we need adjective here, that what kind of qualities a piece of driftwood can have. Aesthetic means beautiful. Appreciation is not an adjective, it's a noun. Visual qualities or audio qualities are no kind of qualities in a piece of wood. And critical with capital C, we don't need a capital word as the answer. We are in between a running sentence. So we'll go with aesthetic, that's the only adjective. Visual and audio doesn't fit with wood, so there's no choice. So we'll go with aesthetic qualities, means beautiful qualities, but it is not a work of art since it was not made by human. On the other hand, a piece of wood that dash to look like driftwood is not an object of nature. I was surprised to see you people selecting was carved here because you are using is in that sentence. We are not going into past tense because they are just talking about general things, that if you have a piece of wood, if we say if you have a piece of wood which was carved, means that we are making it a tense based sentence, that we are talking about past. But facts or general statements are not in past tense because we are not talking about a piece of wood from the past. We are generally saying that if you have a piece of wood that has been made to look like driftwood, it is not an object of nature, it is a work of art, because that's just a condition that if you get, or we are talking about a piece of wood that somebody has carved, but it will be has carved. We won't say was carved because we are not talking about past or future tense here. So was cannot come, the sentence is in present tense. And if we say piece of wood that is carving, that will mean wood is carving something. Again, if we put carves, that will make it active, that wood carves something, but that's wrong. What is carved is wood itself. Wood is not carving something else. So we have to go with passive tense. Piece of piece of wood that has been carved by someone. So someone has carved the wood. Wood has not carved someone. Again, the concept of active and passive comes here. So on the other hand, a piece of wood that has been carved, we cannot go in any past or future tense, and we need a passive answer here. Is not an object of nature but of art, even though the appearance of the two may be exactly the same. This distinction was challenged in the 20th century by artists who declared that objects, troves, means found objects, are works of art, since the artist's perception of them as such makes them so, even if the objects were not human made and were not modified in any way from their dashed state. And this is right with all of you, because objects cannot have any hereditary state. Hereditary is something which is passed on from generation to generation, and we are talking about wood here. Wood doesn't pass anything in generations. Unaffected state or affected state is not the topic. They are saying we have not modified it from their natural state. Whatever shape, size they were found in nature, it's in the same shape, same size, same appearance. We have not modified it. So that would be called their natural state. It's not about simple or complex state. So simple cannot be the answer. So these are the answers. Any confusions, anyone? The first one, a lot and great difference, both are right. So a lot is more general word. Great difference is more academic way of writing. The second one, but, tells us that we have to go with contrast, and the opposite of different is similar. The word which shows similarity is in common. Third one, we needed an adjective to describe what kind of quality. So we'll say aesthetic means beautiful, beauty related qualities. Critical is with capital C, we don't need it. Appreciation is a noun, and visual and audio are not the qualities. With wood, to describe wood, we can use them. The fourth one, we needed passive. It was a passive statement. So is carving and carves cannot be the answers. Was carved, again, doesn't make sense, because we are not talking about past tense. We are generally saying a piece of wood that has this, a piece of wood that has dash. So it's not about it was done by in the past. And the last one, because we say that the objects are found in nature and we have not modified them in any way, means they are in their original state. We don't have original in the options. We can go with natural state, means whatever state they were found in the nature can be called a natural state. Any confusions, anyone, in this question? Yes, 𝗙𝗡𝗊, that's what I said. We use differ a lot. That's why it's common. So something that we use in verbal language, that is a common general language. Something that we use in writing would be academic. What you have written is your answer. We use differ a lot generally. That's why it is general. Generally, we say there's a lot of difference in verbal language. If we'll write it, there's great difference. There is considerable difference. So that would be more academic way than saying a lot of difference. All right. So go through the concept of active and passive, 𝗙𝗡𝗊, from the videos, because this concept is going to come in the exam no matter what. So you have to clarify your concept of active and passive. In simple language, when the doer is given before the blank, that's active. When the doer is given after the blank, that's passive. Second question on your screens. You have 2.5 minutes, and then post your answers, please. Okay, very well done. A lot of you have done very well. Some things that I wanted you to think, you have thought on those. What justifies the authority of a state? What are the proper limits of state power? Dash, what circumstances is it morally right to overthrow a state? And I'm very happy with most of you selecting under what circumstances. Those who have gone by the grammar videos, you know that in is used when you have an enclosed thing. For example, in the room, because you are inside an enclosed thing. In the drawer. Drawer means enclosed by four sides. So that's when we use in. We can use in verbal language, in what circumstances, in what situations, but that's wrong English. The right preposition to be used in those cases, under what circumstances, under what situations. So we cannot create a question with by, what circumstances, or for, but circumstances, and nobody has selected them also. That's a good thing. The second one says, within Western political philosophy, one of the most dash approaches to such questions. So with most plus verb makes it the third form. Beautiful, more beautiful second, most beautiful third. And what we learn from this example is the word beautiful does not change at all. So we don't say beautifuler or beautifulest. It remains beautiful only. So anything which is changed, like better. Better is the second form of good, better, best. That cannot be the answer, because if the word changes itself, then more and most are not added with those words. Biggest, big, bigger, biggest. So the word itself is changing. We cannot add more and most with that. The three forms of perfect are perfect, perfect, and perfect itself. We don't add perfect, more perfect, or most perfect, because perfect means the best one. There cannot be more perfect possible. So the only option we are left with, which is possible to write in English grammar, English language, is more influential, influential, most influential. So that's why the answer will be most influential. Approaches to such questions asserts that the state exists by, and its powers are generally defined by, the rational dash of its citizens, as represented in a social contract between themselves and a ruler. So what can be something which is written in the contract and which is between two types of people? Can we have a compromise in a contract and two types of people? Authoritative is not a noun, it's an adjective. And we, after the, always comes a noun form. With the before of also we need a noun form. Authoritative is not nouns, that cannot come. There cannot be any compromise in a contract, because the text does not give us any hint of a compromise. Unity between themselves and a ruler, or agreement. So what better matches with the context, written in the form that they have this thing in the contract between themselves and the ruler. So there should be something in writing, and that is an agreement. The classic social contract theorists of the 17th and 18th centuries held that the social contract is the means by which civilized society, including government, dash from a historically or logically pre-existing condition. What is this sentence trying to say? It's giving the definition. That what is a social contract? The definition of social contract is, social contract is the means by which. What we have to learn, why am I analyzing that this is a definition? Because I need my answer in which tense. So definitions are always given in simple present tenses. We'll always say photosynthesis is the process by which green plants prepare their food. We will never say photosynthesis is the process by which green plants prepared their food or will prepare their food. No. The understanding of the sentences is important. So definition, this is a definition, and definitions are always given in simple present tenses. So what we have in simple present tense is only one option, arises. And the last one, they say, because the state of nature is in certain respects unhappy or unsatisfactory or undesirable, or because increasingly complex social relations eventually require it, each person agrees to surrender some or all of his expansive rights and freedoms to a central authority on the condition that every other person does the same. Dash, each person receives the benefits. So in the previous sentence, they said the person gives something. Surrenders means obviously you're giving. And the next sentence says you receive. So based on context, the answer should be in exchange. You give something and in the exchange you get something. So this is the best example of the questions which you get in the exam, in which you cannot understand the language, you cannot understand the context, you cannot understand the meaning. At least I cannot. So what I always keep on saying is that why do we have to keep our basics, our rules, our strategies, analysis strong, is because these kind of questions will also be there in the exam. So for me, I am really a politics averse person, so I won't understand a single word out of this. So that is why all my strategies work. That okay, this is a definition, I need simple present tense. They are talking about something in a contract, so it should be in writing, right? And whenever there are connectors in the options, we just have to understand what is the previous sentence and what is the relation of the next sentence. So previous sentence is talking about giving, the next sentence is talking about getting. So that means there is exchange happening there. So this is how we have to solve in case you get difficult language questions, difficult context questions in the exam. Right, so I'll repeat once again, under what circumstances, because the specific use of in is when you are enclosed on four sides. The second one, if you add more and most, the verb itself cannot change. We cannot add er, est or anything with the verb itself. You can write an example for your remembrance. Beautiful, more beautiful, most beautiful. So more and most can only be added if beautiful does not change. So that's why better itself is second form. It's the better second form of good. So we cannot add more and most with that. Biggest is the third form of big. The word itself is changing, so we cannot add more and most with that. Perfect cannot have more and most, because it's not possible to have something more perfect. Perfect itself means the best one. So the only option we are left with is influential. It's more influential, most influential. The word is not changing. The third one, there should be something in writing, agreement under a contract. The fourth one, definitions are always given in simple present tense, so arises. And the last one, whenever we have a connector, we have to match the context. We have to understand the relationship between the two sentences, positive to negative, same side, opposite side, or at least what are the verbs being used, like surrender and receive. That means you're giving something and you're getting something. So there is an exchange happening. I hope it's clear now. Any confusions, anyone in this question? Right. Question number 3 on your screens. 2.5 minutes to post your answers, please. Very well done. So this says infrared astronomy. What is it? Study of astronomical objects dash observations of the infrared radiation that they emit. So we are talking about a concept which is the study of astronomical objects. How is the study done? The study is done through the observations. Means observations is the method. Observations of the radiation is the method, is the process, is the way of studying astronomical objects. And we have made a note, especially in your notebooks, in your notes, that through is always used when you have a method, way, or process written. So this should have been correct. We are repeating it almost every day in every class. We cannot go with within. Within is used when you place a limit on something, that you have to complete this thing within this time. That is when we use within, when your sentence is placing a limitation. Along is side by side, and as doesn't make sense here. So through, because observations of the radiation is the method of studying astronomical objects. Dash types of celestial objects, then they have given examples. Give off energy at wavelengths in the infrared region of the electromagnetic spectrum. Other types of, so have we talked about one type? No, we haven't talked about any type, so we cannot say other type. A few is for countable things. So are we talking about negative here? A few means very little. Little is used for uncountable, but the sentence does not have anything negative, so we cannot go with a few, because who told us that there were very less number of types of celestial objects? So we'll say various types of, means many types of objects they give off this energy. The techniques of infrared astronomy enable investigators to examine many such objects that cannot otherwise be seen from Earth, because the light of wavelengths that they emit is dashed by dust particles. So picking up the easy words, the light is dashed by dust particles. This is how you should simplify the sentence when it's a very long and technical kind of sentence. Looking at grammar, before by is always third form of verb. Light is dashed by dust. Light is blocked. Yes, if light is coming and in between there are dust particles, light will be blocked. Light is closed by dust. Light is jammed. Jammed is when the working of something is stopped because something is stuck in between. So jammed would be better to use with machinery or some kind of process happening, and that gets jammed because of machine stopping. Light is cut off. That doesn't make sense. Dust particles cannot cut off light. Cut off would be when the wire, there's any problem with the wiring or something. So we'll say light is blocked just because something is coming in the way. That is blocking. Infrared astronomy originated in the early 1800s with the work of the British astronomer, this person, who discovered the existence of radiation dash studying sunlight. So this is a sentence writing style that you have to learn for the exam. The example is, I completed my homework while watching television. So while connects past form and ing form together. It basically means when two things are done at the same time. So he discovered radiation when he was doing something else while studying sunlight. Means both of the things were done at the same time. He was actually studying sunlight, and that was the time he discovered radiation as well. So that's a writing style. Please make a note of it. The first systematic infrared observations of stellar objects were made by this person, these persons. Modern infrared techniques were introduced dash the early 1960s. So the sentence was long, so I did not read the examples. The comma to comma part, I skipped it, and I read modern techniques were introduced dash the early 1960s. So with time periods, we always use during, because 1960s means 62, 63, 64, 65, any of the years, not 1 year. So whenever we have time period, we always go with during this time period, means the number of years. In is used when you have one particular year, Rupa. Right? And over we use with height and movement. Otherwise, over we say over the period, over the time period, not over the 1960s. So when you have the year written, then you cannot say over. We just use over the years, over the time period. In that sense, we use over. in the same statement it's written in. That's okay. You cannot select that. If you have a better option, if you have a specific preposition, you will always go with that. They will intentionally give you these kind of things just to check your understanding and your knowledge, rather than understanding your knowledge on how, what is the difference between in and during. So you know the difference or you don't know the difference. See, the thing is, the problem in English language is that there is no one right thing. There are 4 or 5 things, all of them are right, but it depends upon which is better and which is the best one. That is the only reason making this language so complex. Otherwise, it would have been like the other languages. So you need to understand that what is better option, what is more academic, what is the specific way of writing something than speaking something. And you always have to go with the best one, right? So as I said, Rishabh, you can use over the years, over the time period, but not over the 1960s. So these are the answers. Through, because you have a process written, and through always comes with ways, methods and processes. The second one, we'll say various objects, because there's no hint that the objects were less or lesser in number, or they were limited in number. So we cannot go with a few. Third one, light is blocked because there is dust coming in between. While is a sentence structure. One thing completed while doing other thing. So you can note this down. One thing completed, discovered, ed form, while ing form, doing the other. That's always ed and ing combined using while. And the last one, during, always comes with time periods. Any other confusion, anyone? Question number 4 on your screens, 2.5 minutes to post your answers. All right, should be done. Good attempt. This is easy. Even if we don't understand the context, we just have to follow what tense they are using and it should be fine. The most famous champion of the moralistic view of art in modern times is Tolstoy. Long after he had finished writing his novels, he fell under the influence of pre-church Christianity, the principal tenet of which was the fellowship of all humans. This one idea became such an dash with him that everything else became subordinate. So something which you prioritize in your life, that everything else becomes secondary to it, that is subordinate to it, that's called an obsession, that you keep on thinking, doing everything about that thing only. So that's called an obsession. The second hint was we needed an answer with vowel after and we cannot use passion, and just an idea cannot take everything subordinate, and enthusiasm again cannot make anything subordinate. So the rules that we again use with and comes vowel, that is B, C, D can be the answers, and when we read till the full stop, everything else becomes subordinate to it. So we have to match our answer to that level. Dash all the literature of his own time, including all his novels, he condemned as inimical to human fellowship. So this is talking about how much of his literature, that they're talking about all of his novels. So it's about quantitative answer. So near all the literature, still almost is a word that shows quantity. Almost means like 80%, 90% of his literature, including all his novels. He condemned as inimical to human fellowship by emphasizing class distinction and pitting one group of humankind dash another. The one group of humankind with another from other, at or against. So one thing against the other, because class distinction means obviously he's not supporting one group with the other, he's against one, putting one group against the other, because class distinction means you are segregating in the people. Even art that appealed primarily to upper class tastes, such as this and this, dash as false art. So if we don't look at the examples, we shorten the sentence. Even art that appealed to the upper class tastes, dash as false art. So we are in which tense? We are in past tense. So we'll go with past options. Were condemned is past, is condemning is present. Would be condemned is again something that yet to be happened, or yet to happen. And being, if we want to put being, we still need helping verb, is being or was being or has been, sorry, is or was being, which we don't have. So being cannot come. So we have to go with were condemned. Even the art that appealed to upper class tastes were condemned as false art. The art that remained, so we are in past tense. The next sentence was also a hint that we have to stay in past tense. Included such items as folk songs that peasants might sing in the fields as they worked, and pictures and stories, either illustrating the tenets of early Christianity or dash the spirit of Christianity. So they are using ing form of verb. We will also go with ing form of verb. So creates cannot be the answer. That's first thing. Developing the spirit of Christianity, but Christianity was already a religion, so he did not develop it. Finding the spirit or fostering. So it's better to go with fostering. Fostering means encouraging, motivating, somehow telling more and more people to get involved into. That's called fostering. So develop is when something is made for the first time. So he was not the one who was developing the spirit. So he was kind of promoting it, encouraging it, motivating it. So that's why we'll go with fostering. So these are the answers. With and should be something starting with a vowel. Obsession, when we read the complete sentence, it is not just an idea or enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is more of a feeling, but it became an obsession, means everything else became secondary. Then the second one, we needed a quantitative answer. Almost all the literature means 80%, 90%, including all the novels. So that's why we go with almost. Third one, because of the sentence structure that he condemned, or class distinction, pitting one group of humankind. So that will be against another. The fourth one, we needed past tense, and there was only one option in past, were condemned. The last one, they are using ing form of verb. We will also go with ing, and he's not the one who is developing the spirit. Christianity is already there. He's just promoting it, encouraging it, motivating it. So that will be fostering. Any confusions, anybody in this particular question? So fostering would be encouraging, trying to spread it more, expand it, motivating something, right? The last one for this reading writing questions, question number 5, you have 2.5 minutes and then post your answers, please. Okay, let's discuss the answers. The last one is not correct. Mathematics, the science of structure, order, and relation that dash from elemental practices of counting, measuring, and describing the shapes. Do we say mathematics is the science that evolves from? Mathematics evolves from counting, measuring, or it has already evolved? You already have mathematics, right? This is not a general, like you say, tsunami occurs when this happens. So if we are talking about some tsunami which has already occurred, tsunami has occurred in Japan because of these reasons. So maths has already evolved. Mathematics has evolved from the basics of counting, measuring, and describing the shapes of objects. It doesn't evolve every day. It deals with logical dash and quantitative calculation. So logical reasoning is a term in itself. Logical analysis, logical thinking is thinking is not about mathematics. So it's logical reasoning is the mathematics. Have you seen here? And its development has involved, which tense are they using? An increasing degree of idealization and abstraction of its subject matter. Dash the 17th century, mathematics has been an indispensable adjunct to the physical sciences and technologies. Means since 17th century. Since is used when you want to say starting from that time period. So we always use since with times when we want to say from that time. That is since 17th century. Mathematics has been very, very important to science and technologies. And in more recent times, it has assumed a similar role in the quantitative aspects of the life sciences. In many cultures, mathematics has developed far dash basic counting. So far beyond is a collocation. Far beyond means when something has crossed that limit. So in many cultures, mathematics has crossed the limit of basic counting, crossed that boundary of basic. It is very, very advanced now. That is far beyond. This growth has been greatest in societies complex enough to sustain these activities and to provide leisure for contemplation and the opportunity to dash the achievements of earlier mathematicians. What you have written is opportunities to build up. Build up means make. Do you have opportunities to make the achievements of earlier people? Earlier people have made their achievements. You cannot make their achievements. So the answer was opportunity to build on the achievements. Build on means use something as the basics and go beyond that. Use something which is already, use the work which is already done as the basic and you advance on that. That is called build on. So you have the opportunity to build on the achievements, means use those achievements as your basis and you can build more data, more experiments, more things on that. Not a very good question. So first and last ones were not very well done. If you are putting evolves in the first blank, now all of the tenses have to be changed in this paragraph. You have to look at what tense they are using with mathematics every time. We can say it's a definition, but we cannot say mathematics evolves because it doesn't evolve. It has evolved already. So do you say development of mathematics involves an increasing degree? They could have written involves again. Why are they writing has evolved? Why are they writing mathematics has developed? They can say mathematics develops, right? So the first sentence cannot be called a 100% definition sentence. It was rather the piece of information that where has mathematics come from. So it has come from. So say it has come from. We cannot say it comes from because it doesn't come every day, right? So be very, very careful about the tense of the context. If they're using one tense throughout, that means they're not changing tenses. You should also go with the same tense. Expand the achievements. Expand is used in what sense, Rajni? Increase something. So there was a scientist, he has done some work. I cannot increase his achievements. I cannot expand his achievements. I'll do my own achievements. I can only use his work as a base. So if you put extend here, that means that person's achievements are increased, right? Okay. Let's move on to reorders. Here is your first question on the screen. 2 minutes and then post your answers, please. Okay, should be done. This was easy, guys. Why are you putting therefore in between when the story is not complete? Therefore means that's a conclusion, right? So you have a direct reference, you are ignoring that and you want to finish your story and then you want to start it again. The first sentence is D, where you have the definition. Biochemistry, what is that? Study of the chemical substances and processes that occur in plants, animals, and microorganisms, and of the changes they undergo during development of life. A complete definition. Now, further explanation, it deals with, so it here refers for biochemistry. It deals with the chemistry of life, and as such, it draws on the techniques of analytical, organic, these kind of chemistries, as well as on basis of vital processes. So the first two sentences are every time connected. The first sentence tells you the topic, and the second sentence further explains it in a bit detail. Now we have therefore. We have all chemical changes and we have these chemical changes. So how easy was it? Unless and until you name the changes, you cannot say these changes. So where are the names of the changes? All chemical changes and then the names. Degradation of substances, generally to gain necessary energy, or buildup of complex molecules. These are the changes that they've given the examples of changes. They are called metabolism. So here we have the names of the changes or whatever the changes are. So once we say, okay, these are the changes, then only we'll say these changes. These can only come once we are named something. So these changes depend on the action of organic catalysts, or known as enzymes, and enzymes depend for their existence on genetic apparatus of the cell. And in the end, we'll say, therefore, it is not surprising that biochemistry enters into the investigation of chemicals, whatever it is, but it is therefore. So you conclude your story of biochemistry. You can only conclude it once you're done with every information of biochemistry. This was not difficult. This word these made it very, very clear that first find out the changes, then say these changes. This, therefore, I always say connectors and your reference words, this, that, these, those. Two are the things which can always solve your question. So please be more careful when you're solving the orders. Don't ignore the things written right in front of you. Okay, let's move on to the second question. Second question on your screens, 2 minutes, and then post your answers. Rahul. Who else? Vam. Only few of you have done good. Those who are writing D at the end, by the end of the decade, which decade? You're putting D after C, you're putting D after A. Where is the time given in C and A? Which decade are we ending? So B is the first one. At the beginning of the 1830s, nearly 1,25,000 Native Americans lived on millions of acres of land in Georgia and these places. Land their ancestors had occupied and cultivated for generations. Then will come D, by the end of the decade. Means we are talking about one particular decade and it has to come with the name of the year. Name of the year means the year itself. Without the year, we cannot say the decade. It can be any decade, 40, 50, 60. Anything can be a decade. So by the end of the decade, very few natives remained anywhere in the southeastern United States. And then was C, because A cannot come. This difficult and sometimes deadly journey. So we first have to explain the journey only, but then we can say this journey. In D, there is no journey, right? So we have to put something which is at least a journey. Working on behalf of white settlers who wanted to grow cotton on the Indians' land, the federal government forced them to leave their homelands and walk hundreds of miles to a specially designated Indian territory across the Mississippi River. So this journey, because they have to walk hundreds of miles, that is a journey, right? So this journey will come after that. Sometimes you don't have to look at the what is the relation between 2 and 3. 2 and 3 might not be related to each other, but 3 comes at that place because 4 cannot come first. So there is a different mindset perspective of solving reorders. You cannot always go on 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes you have to go 1, then 2, and then 4, and then 3, because 4 cannot come before 3. That is why 3 comes first, not that 2 and 3 are connected to each other. So you have to keep your possibilities and options open. And the best way to do that is to follow just one method. Wherever you have connectors, wherever you have reference words, just go with that. This journey, okay, I'll find a journey and put it before the sentence. Your pairs will automatically turn out to be right. Okay. Good, Suganya. Yeah, very done. Just looking for your name. Okay, third and last question for reorders, and you have 2 minutes to solve and post your answers. So if according to you, D can be the first sentence, why cannot C be the first sentence? Out of D and C, which is general, which is just telling us the topic. D is giving so many details. D tells you from this year to this year and the number of elephants, then the fractional change more than half, giving the numbers as well, and then giving the reason for the what is it, reduction as well. Is this general? It is covering almost all the aspects, time, number, reason, everything. And you think that D is general? If we can start with African elephants were less, why cannot we start with Asian elephants were less in the wild? So the selection was just on the basis of which sentence is more general in the writing style, and C is general at the beginning of the 21st century. The reason for you selecting D is because of just the looking at the time period that 1979 will come first, then will 21st century come. Who told you that it will always? When you were taught the timeline rule in the strategy class, we made a star there and we wrote that exceptions apply, that you always have to read through the sentences, because it is not just based on time period that your answer will be. You will still have to check the context to finalize. So at the beginning of the 21st century, fewer than 50,000 Asian elephants remain in the wild. This is general. We're not giving the reason, the fraction, why they were less, why they were being reduced, right? So it's better. Then we have two sentences. One is saying, however, means the opposites should be connected. Here we are saying African elephants are abundant. And in this one, we are saying African elephants are less. They were reduced by more than half. So these are opposites, means they will come together. Now we are left with 8. Threatened by habitat loss and poaching, Asian and African elephants are listed as endangered species. This should come at number 2, because after endangered only you will talk about in detail about what are the reasons for them or what exactly are the fractions that are reducing. So we can go with the A at number 2, D at 3, because first we'll say they are decreasing and then they're saying, however, in some parts they are enough, they are abundant. Even if A, let's say, was not very clear, but at least start with C and put D and B together, because that was a very clear hint. D, B, and those who have written B, D, you have to think what you are doing, Kriti. So you're first saying, however, elephants are abundant. However, to what? However means but elephants are abundant. So they should be less. Only then you can say elephants are less, but they are abundant. Only then but justifies. So however has to show contrast from one side to the other. Right? So this was not done well. At least connectors and references should be good by now. This is enough time that you can focus on just 2 things and improve your scores. First question for reading blanks. You have 2 minutes and then post your answers, please. Okay, should be done. So beans processed caffeine. Beans can do work. Coffee beans dash caffeine. So it's a fact. So we'll go with simple present tense. Coffee beans contain means they have caffeine. Although a jolt of caffeine is what many people are looking for when they reach for a cup of joe. So the sentence is absolutely complete. So we'll go with adverb. A jolt of caffeine is already what? Already comes when you finish something before time. And the other adverb is exactly, and one is often. Often means generally, and exactly means particularly this is what they want when they go for a cup of coffee. So exactly because we need often in other blank. If you're confused, you can put both the options at, keep both the options at number 2, and then you can eliminate one when you require it later. Then they say jolt of caffeine is exactly what many people are looking for when they reach for a cup of joe. The beans can be dashed to remove most of the stimulant, creating a drink that can be enjoyed at night without losing sleep. So with B comes third form of verb. We have two. Beans can be prepared or beans can be processed. So this is also something very common. The coffee beans are processed. We don't prepare coffee beans, they grow on plants. So we'll go with processed, means a process that they go through in which something is added or something is removed, that those things are called processes. And then decaffeination is associated with less flavorful coffee because it is a bit tricky to remove only the caffeine and not the flavor. So again, the sentence is complete. Here we need the adverb and we'll go with this is often associated. Often means commonly associated because it is tricky to remove only the caffeine and not any of the flavor chemicals. So what type of flavor chemicals or any additional information, not any of the, so we can say numerous means not any of the number of flavors that there are or chemicals. So it's very difficult to remove only caffeine and not any of the numerous chemicals that are there. Right? These are the answers. First one, that's a general statement. Coffee beans, they contain caffeine. Second one, the sentence is complete. We have to go with adverb, and this sentence is saying that particularly they go there for caffeine. So exactly what people are looking for is a jolt of caffeine. Beans can be processed. We don't prepare beans, we get them and then we process them. Fourth one, decaffeination is associated. So we'll go with often, means generally it is associated with this. It is tricky to remove only the caffeine and not any of the numerous chemicals which are there. Right? Can we put prepared in number 5? Chahat. Can we do that? Do we need third form of verb there? It is tricky to remove only the caffeine and not any of the prepared flavor chemicals. The coffee beans, they already have the flavor chemicals. We don't prepare flavor chemicals for them. So you only need adverb, not verb there. Already is not the answer anywhere. It's often. Already is when you complete something before time. So here is your question number 2. You have 2 minutes and then post your answers, please. Okay, should be done by now. Vivekananda's mark in the West. Give me, what do we mean by mark of a person? Nothing, right? Mark of Vivekananda. Every year on June 21st, millions of people in an estimated 84 countries around the world dash the International Day of Yoga. So when we celebrate days, we either can use the word celebrate, or the second next best word is observe. Days are observed as some special days. So you can note it down. Always use observe when you are given a date. This date is observed as this particular day. Large dash moves through postures together in San Francisco's Marina Green Park and on New Delhi's 𝗙𝗵𝗀 to mark the occasion. So obviously people will move on these streets. So what we have in peoples is crowds, because there are so many people. So we'll say large crowds. While yoga has become a path to wellness among everyday Americans and celebrities alike, the practice was once unheard of in the West. So that's a complete sentence. Yoga has become a path. Path is a noun, so we need adjective. Yoga has become what kind of path? So the adjectives that we have is important, but important cannot come with a. We need an for that. And then we have only one adjective, mainstream. Mainstream means the main one. So we'll go with mainstream because there is no choice. So yoga has become a main path, that is a mainstream path. While it was unheard of in the West, many dashed the global popularity of yoga back to a key event. So many are tracing right now, they are tracing, or many have traced. So have traced is better because they're not right now doing it. So we have already traced back to yoga to the key event in the past. In 1893, a Hindu monk named Swami Vivekananda addressed a large gathering in Chicago. But Vivekananda's dash in the West was not always as enthusiastic as some accounts suggest. So 𝗏 tells us that the noun has to be singular. Mark is not a noun, first of all. Tax is plural. Reaction and reception. So can we say Vivekananda's reaction was not enthusiastic? No, Vivekananda's reception. Yeah, reception means welcome. That means he was welcomed very well in other parts, but when he came to West, people did not welcome him with that much enthusiasm as the other sides of the world. So Vivekananda's reception means the welcome that he got was not always as enthusiastic as the accounts suggest. So note down the meaning of reception if you didn't know it. Any confusions in this, anyone? So days are observed, celebrated or observed. Second one, crowds, because so many people are moving on the street, so there will be crowds. Mainstream means main path. We didn't have a choice either. The fourth one, many have traced, because people are not right now doing it in front of us. And the last one, reception, because reception means welcome. So Rajni, as I said, with days, when you have a date, that this particular date is dash as some day. So either we say celebrated or we say observed always. Mark is used to mark the birth anniversary of this person. That's a different way we use the word mark in those cases. All right, you have question number 3 on your screens. 2 minutes and post your answers. should be done. And you have forgotten to check whether you need a positive word or a negative word. So many of you have written a positive word in the first blank. White Americans often feared and dash Native Americans. So something that you are fearing, will you embrace that thing? Embrace is to accept happily, step into happily, acknowledge happily, wholeheartedly doing something is called embracing. Something that we fear, we cannot accept or step into that thing wholeheartedly, very happily, smiling. So check whether you need a positive or negative answer. So we need a verb which should be third form and which should be negative. Embraced is positive, so we cannot go with that. And resented means not accepting something. To show that you are against something is called resentment. To them, American Indians seemed to be an unfamiliar alien people who occupied land that white settlers wanted. Some officials in the early years of the American Republic, such as President George Washington, believed that the best way to solve this Indian problem was simply to civilize the Native Americans. The dash of this civilization campaign was to make Native Americans as much like white Americans. So after the, we need a noun, and we have to hear the goal of this civilization or the target of. The target again is used in a bit, sometimes used in a bit negative way as well, but goal is always used in positive sense. So it's better to go with goal over target. The goal of the campaign was to make Native Americans as much like white Americans as possible. This was a simply completing sentence. By encouraging them convert to Christianity, learn to speak and read English, and adopt European style economic dash, such as individual ownership of land and other property. So examples are always given of something which is plural. So European style economic, individual ownership of land can be habit or practice. This is not a habit. You own land individually, this is your habit. Habit is something that you do every day. I have a habit of going for a walk. Ownership of land has what to do with habits. This is practices, means their ways of doing things. And then in southeastern United States, many people dashed these customs and became known as the 5 civilized tribes. So people in the past tense, obviously, so people desired these customs or people embraced. So here it will be embraced, that they accepted these customs, and that's why they came to be known as 5 civilized tribes. This was not a difficult question. You have to think of what is a habit before you're selecting habits as the answer. Target. When do we use target? Is in marketing, like the target is 45 sales, 45% revenue. Those are targets. When you're having a campaign to convert people into a different religion, that is not a target. That's the goal of the campaign. That what is the reason behind. Target is more in numerical terms. Right? Any confusions, anyone? All right, last question for today, fourth one, 2 minutes for this, and then post your answers. All right, should be done. Do we need adverb here? Incisor teeth is a verb that you're putting adverb in the first blank. Elephant tusks are incisor teeth made of ivory. This is a noun after a complete blank. Complete sentence after a blank. This is a noun. So in case of nouns, we need adjectives, not adverbs. So it will be enlarged. What kind of teeth they are? They are big teeth. Enlarged incisor teeth made of ivory. In the African elephant, both the male and the female possess tusks, whereas in the Asian elephant, it is the male that has tusks. So is this a helping verb? We will need adverb here. It is mainly the male, because the next sentence tells us that sometimes females also do have the tusks. When present in the female, tusks are small, thin, and of a uniform thickness. Dash male Asian elephants are tuskless and are known as muknas. So what have in capitals is more or less and some. More or less doesn't make sense here. More or less means average. So we'll say some male elephants, they don't have tusks, so they are called this. Tusk shape and size are dash. Now those who have written changing here, what you want to say is tusk shape and size keep on changing. That is a way that you can write a fact. R plus ing, helping verb plus ing, can never convey a fact. That conveys something happening right in front of you. So tusk shape and size are changing, means right now it is changing. If you have written it with this perspective that they keep on changing, then the sentence also has to say the shape and size of the tusk keep on changing. Not are changing doesn't mean that they change throughout the lifetime. So understand the sentence structures before you put your answer. So with are comes third form of verb. So we have inherited and exaggerated. So exaggerated is used when you overdo something. So here we'll better go with inherited. Inherited. They also protect the sensitive trunk which is tucked between them when the elephant charges. In times of drought, elephants dig water holes in dry river beds, dash using their tusks, feet, and trunks. This is right. By using, with by comes ing form of verb. By using their body parts, they dig the riverbeds. So be careful, analyze before you select. Exaggerated is not the answer, Rajni. When did I put exaggerated at number 4? Exaggerated is overemphasized. When something is done more than required, that is exaggerated. So these are the answers. The first, we needed an adjective, so that is why it is enlarged. What kind of teeth? Second, we need an adverb, so it will be, it was a comparison that they both African male and female elephants, they have tusks, whereas the Asian ones, mainly the males have. If it is in females, it's very thin and small and of uniform thickness. And then just a statement, some male Asian elephants, they don't have trunks. Tusk shape and size are inherited, because we cannot say are changing. If we want to present a fact, we have to say they keep on changing, or we can say tusk shape and size change with the life or with their age. That represents a factual statement. And the last one is right for everyone. By using the body parts, they dig riverbeds. Right? Any confusions, anyone in this particular question? Okay, before you people leave, I have a question that you need to answer. We are thinking of changing the time of the class. So what is the best time other than this 6:30 p.m. that you people will prefer, or that will be comfortable to you? For example, making it 4:30 p.m. in the evening. Now we cannot make it 6 anymore. Can we make it 4:30 in the evening? How many of you are okay with 4 or 4:30? No, not from tomorrow. We'll inform you beforehand. Just asking. Afternoon 2 to 4. Morning 10 to 12. Anyone morning? Anybody who's fine with the morning time? 9, 10, anytime. Okay, think about it. Most probably we will be taking a call tomorrow on this, so you have time till tomorrow. You can think, and I'll ask the same question tomorrow as well, because some of the people have left and we want majority of you to answer, and then we will have a voting session, counting the votes, and we'll decide. Okay, so till tomorrow, bye bye, take care, keep practicing, keep revising, and just be ready with your preferred time tomorrow, right?